Mr. Bismarck Ruwani, I understand now, joins us from his office in Victoria Island, Lagos. Many thanks, Mr. Ruwani. What sense can you give us in terms of the figures? The good news was that we are out of recession, but the fears of the lawmakers is if we're not careful and the way manner the budget is being implemented, we might just go back.
Let's get some clarity here. The budget was approved in May, and the total amount for capital expenditure was 2.24 trillion, which was 31% of total spending, whilst there was another amount approved for debt service. Debt service has increased, whilst the capital expenditure has not been totally disbursed. The absorptive capacity of the economy to actually take this amount of spending in capital expenditure is questionable at this point in time. If you spend money and you just release money like a drunken sailor, what is going to happen is that people are going to be spending money and it's going to be leakages all over. So there's a trade-off between trying to be prudent, trying to ensure that there's due process, and trying to ensure that the impact of the capital expenditure is felt at the appropriate time. It is true that coming out of a recession, we need to spend appropriately and expeditiously. But at the same time, we shouldn't throw caution to the wind and throw money away, because this country already has a culture of corruption. This country already has a culture of abuse of public expenditure. So we have to be careful, but at the same time, we have to know that the budget has to be fully spent before March 31st, 2018. That is the point.
Do you share the same kind of pessimism at first that the lawmakers had when the news about how much they have spent? And one of the things that the ministers did say at that session was that one of the things that took us out of recession is the way we'll spend our way out of it. But when we're not spending, do you also share that pessimism that, look, we need to spend? But again, it is raining, Mr. Bismarck. How do we spend this money, especially when you talk about infrastructure and development?
No, I think the rains have little or nothing to do with it. The point is that you have to make those decisions and you have to spend the money. But spending the money and investing the money are two different things. Spending the money and squandering the money is also two different things. Spending the money and stealing the money are also different things. So you want to avoid stealing, you want to avoid squandermania, and you want to avoid just spending for the sake of spending. You want to invest this money where the impact will be felt on the people, which will create jobs and actually make it inclusive. Because at the end of the day, after this government, somebody's going to come and investigate and actually examine this. And if you say you are a government that is championing the war against corruption, you also have to be very careful to ensure that you don't fall into the same trap because of the culture of impunity and corruption, which was inherited and has not ended in this country today.
Mr. Ruwani, I always like to put you in a very difficult situation, but tell me this before we go on a break. If you are to be the judge in this matter now, as the executive, considering the budget under Buhari government, you are a man who supervises how money has been spent and you design execution of expenditures. Tell me, has this government been prudent?
I think they've been prudent and maybe a bit too restrained. Because you can't make omelette without breaking eggs. So if you are too restrained, then you'll find that you are unable to actually do things. But we're going to election season. We're going to a season of people being asked to account for their money. We are going to a season where people are desperate. Contractors and politicians, even people in the executive are desperate to sort out away some money to fund their electoral and political ambitions. So the Ministry of Budget and Planning, the Ministry of Finance, they all have to be very careful, because if not, they will be disbursing money to people who are it's going to be diverted, and then people will not get, the Nigerian country will not get value for money, which is the most important thing.